Gather around, Skull brothers and sisters. This is Skull World live and brought to you by Minnesota Sports Talk. We're going to be talking about the Colts visiting the Vikings today. I got special guest Mike Castellano. I hope I said that right, but go ahead and say it properly and tell me where we can find you.
No, it's Mike Castellino, but you can mainly find me on Twitter at Mike Castellino. I do a lot of Twitter Spaces, Vikings-related Twitter spaces throughout the week. And no, I'm really excited to do this, Dave. It's the first time me and you are doing a video together live, so I'm looking forward to it.
And of course, I say your name wrong. I've said so many names wrong so far, and sometimes I forget the name of the show because I'm on so many. I don't know which one is this today. I had to even think about it there for a second. But yeah, we got the Colts visiting the Vikings. We got already some comments. Let's see who's in. Oh yeah, the Purple Pocket Podcast coming in to stir the pot again. Let's get them up here. Let's go. We got Purple MLK because he brings all the fans together in the house. Let's win, Dave. He was big on the Lions being. Let's talk about that since sure. I got you on the phone. I got you on the channel. So the Lions game, we would not have lost. We would not have lost the playoffs. We would have not lost the division title. We would have not fell out of the second seed, no matter what happened in that game, no matter what happened in the NFL. So no, we're not out of the playoffs. We don't lose our position in the playoffs. And we don't lose the division title. And we still have 4 games left to win 1 game to win the division title. The Lions game, was that a must-win game?
See, now, I think myself, you, and Justin have a different outlook on how we look at the definition of must-win. No. Did it end our season? Was it the end-all, be-all? No. But I think it was a game they needed because I'm not so convinced they're going to hang on to the 2 seed. And it's concerning because they drop another game, I think we're going to be the 3 seed because I don't see the Niners losing any of the remaining games on their schedule. And I worry about the Bears and Packers games at the end of the year because we usually don't win those in those 2 places at the same season. Lambeau Field and Soldier Field, they are hard places to win. I have concerns.
I made the point last week that the Colts game would be more of a must-win. The next game, if we lose, would be more of a must-win game. And the reason why I say it is because now we'll lose the 2 seed. Mm-hmm. So there we go. We have a must-win game finally, guys. And one of the points made to me was, well, at the end of the season, you'll look back at this Lions game and say it was a must-win game. Well, and I can say, well, we should have. Then the Eagles game should have been a must-win game. Yeah. And the Cowboys should have been a must-win game. Now we're actually at a situation where we have a chance of losing something. And then also, your point on this is like it's going to be like the same 4 teams fighting for the 6 and 7 seed, right?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Yeah, same 4 teams. And so we're looking at if we're in the 2nd or 3rd seed. We're still looking at the same 4 teams. It's just that we won't be guaranteed that 2nd round game being at home.
Yes.
So that the must game win we're having is whether or not we get a 2nd home field playoff game.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Right.
Well, this is the thing. And I am my cousin's supporter a lot more than Justin is. But I don't have confidence in Cousins going into San Francisco. And if we somehow pull that off, I don't have confidence in him going into Philly too and winning both of those. That's my concerns. I said throughout the beginning of the season, when I was doing videos with Justin in August during the offseason, I said, we need multiple playoff games at home. And I feel like it's a missed opportunity if they screw it up and end up being the 3 seed because at the end of the day, they should be the 2 seed. They started the year 8-1. If they blow that, it's a big mess.
Yeah, and one of the things that I find, like after a game, let me get your viewpoint on this. After a game, I get this and like, oh, the offense played so terrible, that almost gave this up. There's so many 3 and outs. Then I asked the person, like, what did you have them scoring? What was your pregame prediction? And they said 24 points. Well, we scored 27. But now you're thinking the offense was bad, but they scored more than you thought. Mm-hmm. So there's times when the thoughts in my head. So I feel the same way about the season. I'm like, I predicted us to go 12-5. We need to just go 2-2 the rest of the season, and I get my prediction. How part of that is, losing on the road to the, in preseason. I say we have a tough time winning on the road. Now I picked the Packers as a loss. I picked the Eagles as a loss. I picked there's various losses that actually came true, and then there's games that we won and I thought we might lose. And so my thought is that we're at the end of the season. Is playing all out, playing your starters worth one seed, whether or not that home field advantage? If we're going into the Bears game, although the Bears fans told me that they redid the turf and it held up well all season, is it worth potential risk of injury? We're not going to have a first round, we're not going to have a first round bye. What would that Bears game, and let me get your viewpoint on this. You don't want to lose a game, but you don't want to going into a first round of the playoffs with potentially a rest game for your Vikings. What do you feel about the situation there? These players aren't trying not to win. They're just not in the game, is what I'm saying. What was your viewpoint of sitting players in that situation? Let's say we are in the 3 seed and we're one game away, that 3 isn't locked up, but if we win and the other team loses, what do you feel about that?
Okay, so that's a good question. As I said, if we drop a game here, it would make me sick to my stomach, but I could see it.
Yeah. We could win out with this schedule. So
yeah, if it's not a must win to lock down the 2 seed in Chicago, maybe you are a little bit cautious. Now, what I think they could do, and I'm not saying they should do this, but you could treat it a little bit like a preseason game where play them maybe a half. If you know that the Niners at that point would be locking down the 2 seed. I mean, I obviously hope that's not the case, but if it is, then you just sit everyone else the second half. I could see that happening. And O'Connell has shown in the preseason he was extremely cautious, didn't play any starters the entire preseason.
Yeah. You think he'd be prone to do that? Like, yeah. Not that I want it, and I'm actually going to have Paul Krause hopefully here on Tuesday. And the one game I went to recently was 2019 Bears game, end of the season. We sat our starters, and Paul Krause is in midfield with the microphone, and he says, "And another thing, I don't think we should be. I think we should be playing our starters." And then walks out the field to the crowd going crazy. And I think all of us Vikings fans do. But on the same note, how many Viking fans did you hear or see, posting that they wanted to lose the game last year?
Yeah, no. You never want to lose as a fan.
Right.
Mind you, I think some
wanted to win because I wanted momentum going into the next season, Yeah. But we got Jiffer joining. Jiffer, a while back, you were on one of my shows and you said that you knew Thielen and Kirk Cousins and that you would potentially help me get them in the off season. I actually sent you a message on your YouTube channel. I don't know how much you look at the comments there, but hey, hit me up at mnsportspodcast@gmail.com. That's mnsportspodcast@gmail.com. And I would love to see if we could get one of those guys on. But a Purple Pocket podcast, I'm not sure what that's in reference to. Sorry about that, man. Never doubt the Vikings and how bad they can destroy a good thing. A little pessimism there, but I understand, Jeffrey. I've been a Vikings fan too. So my boy, Sneak Dissing Day LFG Day. Oh, Justin Day. Okay. 400 plus yards given up by the defense. Yeah, 5 games in a row. Let's try not to make it 6 this time. And we're going to talk about that later. That's my damn co-host. Okay. All right. Skull, everyone. Hey, Raymond Hoagland, thanks for joining, man. I appreciate it. And never check my comments. Sorry. No worries, man. Hey, hit me up if you got an email address and we can connect. maybe even hopefully get you on the show. If you being a big Vikings fan, MN Sports. And in fact, I'm not sure how big a Vikings fan you are. So let me know. I would love to have you on the show. MN Sports Podcast at gmail.com. Email me there. And anybody in the chat, if you want to try to join the show too, eventually, you email me there too. All right. Now, let's see. I always bring up some stats and just to go over what the team's doing right now. And right now, Kirk Cousins, these are his stats on the year. Everybody says they're down. In he's close end of the year of getting 4,000 yards. He's 5 away of continuing that streak of 7. Now would be 8 years with 3,025 TDs, 9 picks. He's done much worse. He's done worse than that in other seasons, and he's gotten 2 rushing TDs. I think the most he's ever done was, I think, 2 years with the Redskins. He got like 4. I think he only got 1 last year, but I'm not sure. What do you think of his production this year? Do you think it's down, or do you think it's relative to the rest of the league?
No, I honestly think it's fine. It goes back to my point, Dave, I mentioned earlier, where Viking fans always find something to complain about. And I think we do it too much as a fan base, and it annoys me. We're winning. If you told any fan their 13 games would be 10-3, they'd be happy. But I'm convinced Viking fans, some of them, not the majority, but there is some that like to just complain about Kirk Cousins. I don't know what it is. I'm convinced it's because he wasn't drafted by the team and he was a high-end free agent, and it's rare that happens, where a good quarterback, a borderline top 10 quarterback, and I'm only saying that because most people don't call him that, and they cry when I say he's a top 10 quarterback.
I think he has a range, right? Like per game, like he could be this. He's won 2 player of the months before. Obviously, that's elite play.
Yes.
So because you are the number 1 player of the month. But yeah, continue.
No, like it just annoys me because this is what we wanted for Kirk Cousins. 6 game-winning drives.
Right.
I don't know what else the guy has to do. I don't care about his touchdowns being a little bit down from last year. Because we were winning games last year. That's all everyone said. Well, it's just empty stats. They're not winning.
Right.
Well, now they're winning, and everyone complains about the stats. Which one is it? That's where I get annoyed. And I'm by far not Cousins' biggest fan. I think he's got limitations. I think he's a darn good quarterback, and good luck replacing him. Like, and this is one thing that's bothered me recently. People are talking about Anthony Richardson and Will Levis. Let the season play out. Stop talking about a first-round quarterback. We're not going to be in a position to do it.
We're not.
It's really annoying. And, like, Cowboy fans don't do this with Dak. Cousins is just as good as Dak Prescott. He is. There's nothing different between the two of them. Except Cousins has won more in a tough game on the road in the postseason in New Orleans. Like, I just – so annoying. But anyway. Yeah, that's all I got to say.
And the reason why I bring it's all relative because Kirk Cousins is 7th in yards this year, and he was 9th last year, but at the end of the season, and he actually dipped the last couple of games. He was 9th in TDs. Now he's 11th. Last year he was 9th. Our scoring offense, I actually have this wrong. I didn't update this, but I think we're like 14th. But last year we were 14th. So so that kind of thing, we're kind of like in par where we were last year's on offense because the whole league is down. So when people look at stats saying, oh, I'll take this Kirk Cousins, even though he's got the worst stats. Well, actually, relative to the league, it's pretty similar.
Yeah.
And you mentioned his win total, 43-32, 57%. We haven't had that in a long time. There's only like one quarterback that's played over 50 games in our history that's got above a 50% win percentage, and that's Frank Tarkenton. So, I mean, this is like this with 50 games played, the only other guy that's got a positive win percentage. Now, a shout out to a few other guys that had lower than this, like a Wade Wilson or a Brad Johnson that have really good win percentages, but just didn't play very many games for us. This is what. And there's been like a misnomer, and I'm not going to talk all about Kirk Cousins today, but sure. You're my first time talking to you, and I know you have an open mindset about players, and I don't see you like against anybody, right? So
I don't have an agenda.
Yeah, so you don't have an agenda. So there's a lot of things you saw on the Purple Daily, and I heard it on my shows before. That Cousins needs everything to be perfect. Now we're winning games. We're 10-3, and this is what perfect apparently looks like. He's been knocked down more than any quarterback in the league. That's atrocious. 67. He's been sacked 33 times. That's 8th. Hurried 14th. Apparently, I hope, considering last year he had 4 comeback from behind victories with an atrocious offense, atrocious defense, and right now we're 10-3 with a mediocre offensive line that's honestly given up more sacks than last year's offensive line, and our defense is almost equally, if not worse, at least with yardage given up. That we're now winning games 10-3. Do you think Kirk Cousins, considering he's leading the league over the last 3 years in comeback victories, needs everything to be perfect?
Well,
that was a loaded question.
Not to win.
No, but I'm interested in your your viewpoint, your side on this.
So with Kirk, does he need everything to be perfect to win games in the regular season? No. But I do think he's similar to Stafford, where if you're going to win the whole thing, you need a pretty darn good roster. Is that necessarily perfect?
Yeah.
No, but he's not going to carry you. He's not Josh Allen. He's not Patrick Mahomes. He cannot carry you to a Super Bowl with a bad defense. That's where I get worried, right? Because let's be real, our defense is bad. It's. Do I think it can improve to be more closer to average by the end of the season? Hopefully, but it's all hope at this point. No, I don't think Cousins can win without a perfect team, closer to a perfect team in postseason to win it all. He can win maybe 1 playoff game, but 4 or 3, no.
With the way the offensive line's been playing and the defense, is that what you're saying, or like if they improve, he might be able to take him farther, or
yes.
Or
and I think he's a tough guy. Like, this is the thing I will say about the hurries and the pressures and the sacks he's taken. He's tough as nails. Kirk does not get enough credit for his Iron Man status.
Game, you could really see it, and Buffalo for that matter.
Yeah. He was wincing, I think, against the Jets. He's tough. He's extremely tough. And this isn't a shot at Kirk. Like I said, I think he's as good as almost 85% of quarterbacks. But there's that difference from that last 15% tier of the Herberts, the Burrows, and the Mahomes and Allens of the world. I just think that's the difference.
Oh, we got a hot take. Bradbury out today. We were talking about it before the game. We weren't sure. But I guess Darisaw was off the injury report. That's a good time to talk about it. Blake Brandel's out for the season. Cameron Dantzler questionable. I did kind of hear that he might not be playing. Did you hear? If you guys can hear in the chat, tell us if you got breaking news on that. Harrison Phillips also questionable. I do have
too, right?
What's that?
Daniil, I thought was too, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, so I actually there was a report. Let me pull it up really quick. There was a report, and let me make sure I got it here. Jordan Hicks and Harrison Smith are a go, so we can rule those guys in. Harrison Phillips, I do not know. Bradbury apparently is out. I think that kind of hurts, but I was kind of a little optimistic on Schlattman in the beginning of the season, but him and Ed Ingram got destroyed, and I thought Edgar. Now, let me ask your viewpoint on this. The previous 2 games, Ed Ingram actually played pretty well, except for like this penalty that he had 3 games ago, or 2 games ago, 3 games ago. And then he played like flawless rest of the game, and then last week, the week before this last week, he didn't. And his name was never called in anything bad, but last week, him and Schlattman were. Cousins was needing a life insurance policy in there, and he was getting the throws off, which was utterly amazing. And then the Dalvin Cook fumble was, helped by the pressure that Ingram and Schlattman completely whiff on their blocks. That, what do you see from these 2 guys?
Okay, well, I still back at Ingram. I generally think he's a rookie.
Yeah.
It's a lot of technique issues. It's not a strength thing where he's getting overextending. Yeah. He just it's his technique. He needs to work on it next offseason. I think sometimes guys need another year But the problem is they had no other option at right guard, really, because Chris Reed was supposed to be in that race, but he got hurt during training camp. So he never really got a shot at trying to win that job. I will say this, though, today. If it's true that Bradbury's out, they need to start Chris Reed. Oscar Sloman is not good. He has not played well in the 2 games that he played when he had to fill in for Bradbury in Washington. He took like 2 penalties in the one drive that he was out there. And then last week against Detroit, he was garbage. I mean, Detroit was run blitzing, and they were getting 2 or 3 yard stops on Delco. The minute Delvin touched the ball, he was tackled. So, no, they can't be starting with Sloman much more.
I was a big proponent of Reed coming in the season. I had him listed as the right guard, but I was enthused that Ed Ingram won the job because that just bodes well for the next 10 years, right? That he, because I was pretty high on Reed, and I don't know where it went with Reed being the backup center, because then Schlotman preseason kind of did well in those preseason games, and we just never saw Reed again. I don't know if it's a situation of whether or not he's physically can block somebody. I think it would be more the mental part of the game and the experience of, the blocking assignments or whatever calls the center needs to make. And I don't pretend to know what they need to think. I didn't take school on how to be a center in the NFL like these guys do on a daily basis. But that may be where the risk is, I think. But yeah, I don't think they're going to try to supplant Ed Ingram. I think that would be in their minds, probably a bad move because they see so much in him that, they kept him there kind of like they did Ezra Cleveland. And I was big on Ezra Cleveland having a good year because of what Brian O'Neill says. Hey, this guy was a left tackle coming out of college. You put him at right guard for a year, and then you put him at left guard the next year. Now it's his second year at left guard. There you go. He'll have that experience. And for the most part this season, he's played well. He's had some spots, just like a Brian O'Neill had a bad game before.
Yes.
And honestly, Darrisaw was getting taken to the woodshed that against Dallas before he got the concussion. So there's that was Darrisaw's only bad game, but then he got the concussion, was out. But yeah, the main problem has been center or right guard. And now Brandle's out, and Vidarian Lowe is basically our backup swing tackle. What do you feel about our depth now? What did you think of Vidarian Lowe coming into the season that when he made the team?
I was honestly shocked they kept him. I mean, because they kept Udo too. Now Udo will be started or playing.
Udo, I was like, what the hell? But Vidarian Lowe, I might have a different opinion, but go ahead.
Yeah, knock on wood that nothing happens to our tackles, because if you're playing Oli Udo or Vidarian Lowe, good night. It's going to be a disaster. But on Vidarian Lowe, I'm honestly shocked he made the team when he did. I thought they would just practice squad him. I don't think that he should be playing in the NFL. And they made that clear, right? Like, he was below Udo the entire time this season. They don't want to see him in the game. The main reason they rostered him was so he didn't get poached. They know he needs another year of season. So by all means, we cannot see Vidarian Lowe on the field. He's not ready.
Yeah, I know he didn't make it up the depth chart at all, but I liked his physical attributes are off the charts. He's got like almost an inch bigger hands than Darrisaw. He's only got an inch bigger arms than Darrisaw. He lacks the physical. He lacks the athleticism of Darrisaw. But one of the things I saw in him is that he was a finisher in college, where he did block people to the ground. That was Darrisaw's. That was against him in that he didn't he didn't finish a block. Like, he let people off the hook. Now he's been doing a much better job of that this year. So obviously he's a all pro type talent. But that was one of the things that I saw that he had that above even a Darrisaw, but lacked the physical athleticism of a Darrisaw. So hopefully he is a project and he maintains like that swing tackle where we can probably trust him. Brandle has had his moments. but who is going to play right tackle if, O'Neal goes down? So it was always good to have a swing tackle situation going. And I think they treat him as that. I think that's what they want. That's their goal for him, in my opinion.
Yeah. No, I'm with you, Dave. Like I said, I think they always wanted Blake Rendell to be the main depth guy if anything happened, and you saw that. And then he got hurt. Now, I honestly think they would play Udo. I know Udo's not everyone's cup of tea because how many holding calls he had last season, but I mean, playing a rookie, it ain't going to be any better. Like, Aaron Lowe would not be instantaneously a better player than Oli Udo, in my opinion.
Yeah,
Oli had moments last season. He's not a consistent player, but he can have flashes for a game.
Yeah, right now our backs are up against the wall as far as offensive line depth. It's literally against the wall. I felt better about it because of the way some of these guys played, but now we've lost our backups. And now we're going to our backups. And it almost is good that we did keep 9 offensive linemen, which was, unusual for the most part to start the season. And now I guess, we've never seen Chris Reed out there. I don't think we have seen Oli Udo in a extra tackle type situation. He was in that game, or he was in on that play that we got the fumble with Dalvin Cook. He was a unbalanced line, and then we had a tight end on the outside of him. Which, hey, it was good play design, but honestly, they had. I'm kidding off topic here, but when looking at that play, it was bad timing, and I think this leads to KOC. Is bad timing because they had Munt block, and that play, if he doesn't block, we might get that play because then Dalvin Cook might be able to see him be open. But he did this fake. This is a play, just a delayed release by Munt because he does a block, and then he's got to fight through 2 guys. He gets open, but just way too late. Dalvin probably does. You say throw it out the back of the end zone. Either do that or eat it, and you'll just curl up like a little ball and hold that ball.
So many times, just armadillo that thing.
This leads me to believe that KOC still does got a lot of work to do on his play design when it comes to the run game, when it comes to having hot routes, dump off play, someone to dump it off to if things go bad, in a screen game it's non-existent. It's just, we've had some plays, but it's just non-existent. And we thought Dalvin Cook would be in this passing game, and this is not even one of his good years in the passing game right now. So I think a play like that leads me to believe that he has some work to do on play design, like the timing of it, the timing of the plays.
Well, I'll be honest with you, Dave. We don't have Derrick Henry at running back. That's the only team that runs that play. Why does Tennessee feel comfortable doing it? Henry might as well be the size of a gigantic building. He's so big, no one likes tackling him. So they're just expecting them to run it. Now with Dalvin, I'm not saying they didn't expect to run it, but like we talked about, Detroit was run blitzing the entire game and getting home.
They had a good game plan against us.
Yeah, but and I have credited KOC almost all year. I said this on my show with Justin and Kyla on the Purple Coat on Monday. Rip that play out of the playbook. I never want to see it again. And this is the thing that annoyed me with it most. You don't run that play on the road. That needs to be a play you are running at home when you are up. I've seen Tennessee do it countless times. You do it when you're winning.
Like your two scores up at the 40, right? And it's like 4th and 1. And you don't want to kick a field goal, but you're gonna fake the run and throw a little dump ball over the top to the tight end. I could see that happening. But for us, the personnel we had in there, an inexperienced center and an experienced left tackle, a 5'9" running back, and it's like we don't have. Yeah, you're right. We don't have Derrick Henry to run that play. Now, So here I'm gonna do Justin Jefferson's stats, and we're gonna talk about what he's got going on today. 99 receptions, 142 targets, 1,500 yards, 15.2 average, 6 TDs, 1 rushing TD. He's the only guy on this team that's got above his receiving average. Well, he's at or above his receiving per play. I think he's had a better year, but it's only his third year. But he's each year I think he was maybe 14 a play as a rookie. I think he was like 15.7 last year or something like that, 15.2 somewhere in there. But he's an acceptable big play type average. I mean, Anthony Carter back in the days got over 20 one year, but that's just a different time and place. But the amount of times we throw, it's bound to go down. And this is like acceptable for the team. The rest of the guys are like at 10 or 8 even. So the fact that he is doing this when the whole league is down and our team is down is just amazing. What's your take on Justin Jefferson's year? Would you have taken this if you said, "Hey, here you go"?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, you'd be out of your mind to not take this type of direction. One thing I do want to say, it's one thing that kind of annoys me, and I know you, Dave, are one of the few people that does do what I'm about to do here. Kirk Cousins deserves a lot of credit for this production. Like, it's annoying that everyone just talks about.
I always say, who's throwing that guy the ball?
Yeah, exactly. Like, people act like if we had Mariota as our quarterback, this would be happening. I'm with you, Dave. Like, Kirk Cousins doesn't get enough credit for JJ's production. How many times this season has Kirk Cousins thrown it in double coverage perfectly on a dime, on a frozen rope? Like, that doesn't get enough credit. But on to JJ now. He's exceptional. He's better than Devontae Adams. He's better than Tyreek Hill because he can do everything.
Yep.
If we just have a solid wide receiver too, consistently, man, he'd be almost unstoppable. But there will be games like Detroit week 3 and New Orleans where he doesn't have as much production because we just don't have consistent pass catchers. Hawkins is the number 2 in this team. I know he's not a wide receiver by trade because he's a tight end, but he's our number 2 option. And it feels like, and I know this is obviously going back in a little bit irrelevant to right now, but like that trade, they probably should have just found a way to take Olave, trade up ahead of the Saints last year with Washington. Get Olave. Could you imagine this offense with Olave, Jefferson, Thielen as the wide receiver 3? I mean, you'd be laughing, but it is what it is.
I was big on getting a receiver.
Yes,
I'm a guy that if you get a position of strength, and especially if there's aging veterans, is fill your I guess your magazine with more receivers, and because I think that's where if you're so strong in one area, they can't double, they can't triple team Justin Jefferson, and that's how KJ Osborne got open in that Lions game is because they did triple team him, right? So that's where that's where I was like, hey, I was like at 12 and we sat there, I was like Jameson Williams. But honestly, that play that he scored, his first catch, his first touchdown, it's nothing that wasn't spectacular. It was a guy who lost his way. And I think if Harrison Smith was there, that wouldn't have happened. Like,
I agree.
He would have been talking to him before the play, and he would have been like, okay, this happens. Because Bynum would say often that Harrison Smith's always in his ear. But yeah, there was nothing spectacular about Jameson Williams. So everybody is going to freak out that we just gave him a stud for the next 10 years. The book is still out. This is one play, one catch. He didn't catch another ball, I don't think. So,
no.
Let's talk about this, and I'm going to talk about the other receivers, and we can talk more about it. But, we're in partnership with Chuck Foreman, 44.com. Use Skull15 and checkout, get 15% off. The jersey behind me is not given away yet, January 3rd. Make sure you hit like, comment, be subscribed, and you're entered to win. All your entries in previous contests are still in there. And of course you're eligible because you're a guest on the show and not a partner on the show. So you can do that. You can enter to their Mike. And we're also partnered with Fanatics. If you go to the links, which I will have later in this video, I didn't get them put there fast enough. You can copy and paste those links, and as long as you buy something through those links, you're helping out the channel. Now, So I already talked about 99 catches, 1,500 yards, 6 TDs, 15.2 average. I asked this opinion of somebody. Who do you think has the better touchdown celebration? I mean, this is a one-hit wonder over here, but it costs him some cheddar. And over here, he can do all he wants.
That's a good question. I didn't expect that. I'll probably go with Jefferson, but for the moment itself, I mean, Randy Moss upsetting an entire fan base in a playoff game. Yeah, I don't think there's any one-off celebration that will beat that. I'll say that right now.
And I have a short on this channel. It only got like 100 views, but on my TikTok channel, it got like 110,000 of Randy Moss explaining what happened that day. So yeah, go check it out. It's hilarious. He's a storyteller. I think Justin Jefferson had more of a global impact because everybody's doing it. It's in the freaking World Cup. I see it at two kids at a fast food restaurant getting their drinks, just stop and just start doing the gritty. So and then it's on a video game, and so for global impact, you got to give it to Justin Jefferson. For the hearts of Vikings, especially ones my age and even yours. You remember that day and how awesome it was, and how did Joe Buck went off on it, and then later they ended up having to be coworkers, which was awesome on Fox 1. So it was hilarious. But yards needed to beat Randy Moss, single season record, 132 yards. Does he do it today? And those of you in the chat, do you think Randy Moss, his record is broke today?
Okay, so this might offend some people, but I'm going to be honest. No, and it's not particularly close even. I say JJ doesn't get any more than 70 yards. He's going to get Stephon Gilmore. Like, Gilmore is still a fantastic corner in this league. He's still a shutdown player. They better find a secondary option today. And I will say this. Give Jalen Reagor some snaps. I'm getting sick of this. And I know that KJ Osborne had a decent game last week. There's nothing he did, though, last week that Jalen Reagor could not do for this team. There's nothing. Jalen Reagor's more dynamic, quicker. We need a big game from a Thielen, KJ, or even Reagor or Hawkinson today, because JJ is not going to have a massive game yardage-wise.
I mean, we played some good defenses, and I can see what you're saying. I can see 70 yards. I can see, even like a 10 catch, 70-yard type game, where he has to cut his yards short, and he maybe doesn't get the yardage. He just, he's most certainly not going to set another Viking record with 225 or whatever he had last year or last game. Mm-hmm. But it just takes one, right? It takes one guy to fall down, and you got a 60-yard run. He got cut short on that touchdown. What should have been a touchdown last week. I thought that was how does he call that? I mean, how does the ref is right there? His heel doesn't hit the ground. He's tightrope on the sideline. It was taken away from him, and he's had touchdowns taken away from him this year. So that's why he's only got 6, and he's got 1 rushing. But he's not the big touchdown guy Randy Moss was. Do you think he can be, though? I think he can. I think he's gotten some taken away throughout his career that his numbers will look a lot better, but he does not have the 6'4" height like Randy Moss does. But as far as route running, and he's got he's got more ability there than Randy did.
Agreed.
So what do you think?
Okay, so on the touchdowns thing, Randy Moss, prime Moss, okay, not what he did in the Raiders or later on in his career. I mean, there was the one season with Brady where he went off.
I mean, he did have 1,000 yards with the first year with the Raiders, but it's almost like, and he only played 13 games the second year. But
I'm talking about prime Moss. I don't think almost anyone aside from like Jerry Rice, you can have that conversation. Like anyone could hang in with that production touchdown wise. I don't think JJ will be that. I just don't. Not that, and it's not even taking a shot. You're talking about top 3 touchdown guy basically all time, because how many he had is he had like 40 touchdowns his first 3 years. That's unbelievable. Like that's nuts, and that was before passing is what it is now. Like it's It's crazy to think about. But to your point there, Dave, Jay doesn't have that 6'4" frame. He's a good jump ball guy, but he's not elite like Moss was. I think he'll have a double-digit touchdown year in his career for sure, but it's not going to be something that's happening every single year.
He did have 10 last year and 7 the first year, so now he's at 23, and he'll probably get close to 30 by the end of the season. But yeah, it's almost been disappointing that, like in the last year, this is a big thing because he almost broke this last year. And if Kirk Cousins waits a second, throws it to him instead of the first guy he saw open, because I believe the first read to him was KJ Osborne. KJ Osborne makes this amazing catch against the Bears, and he scores a touchdown. But Justin Jefferson was wide ass open, and all the Kirk haters, including myself, was like disappointed, but I wasn't as vocal. I mean, we scored a freaking touchdown, but that play would have broke the record. And, there's just those little things. But look at us now. We got 4 games for him to break this record. So nobody's even thinking about that. I'm probably the first person I've heard talk about that play this year, right? So now we can do it at home, clinching the division game instead of just another victory that didn't matter. So it's almost better that it's happening this year in this game with a 10-3 record in the division on any game the rest of the year. The division is on the line, and so he's going to do it with the division on the line to get a victory. So that's awesome. I think timing is pretty impeccable for that. And then road to 2K. I started doing JJ2K. It's not catching on. Hashtag JJ2K. Put it in Twitter. It's not been catching on. I've also seen JJ42K, but I don't know. It's not catching on. But road to 2K is real now, folks. 500 yards, 4 games, needs 125-yard average. You predict him to have 70, so that's going to set him back. Do you think he can get there, man?
Yes. Because
what's your odds on it? What, you're like 50%? Like what's your odds?
Oh God, like 1 to 100 or like a betting odds type scenario?
Either or.
Okay, I'll give it.
Both acceptable.
I'll give him. I'll cheat a little bit. I'll do 1/3, 33% chance he doesn't.
I could see that. I think if he gets another cushion here, unfortunately you say 70 yards, and it's a tough defense. So, and maybe we don't even need it, right? And the reason why I say that, and I'll get back in a little bit here, is more about the Colts. But they give the ball up a lot, and part of what helps their defense is the fact that they're giving the ball up, and the other team doesn't have far to go.
Yeah.
So there might be a little advantage to that. I mean, there's games where Miami, we gave up 400 yards, right? And but we only had to get 270 to win the game. So it's like, that takes into account. Shane Jackson, what's up, man? Make sure you hit like on this video, subscribe, like, and comment. Enter to win Chuck Foreman 44 jersey. I think that's my last slide. Yeah. Let me get back here. So I do have stats for the other team, but I want to talk about the other receivers first because we did weigh heavy on that. And it would help if I knew what I was doing. All right. So you said, if we had a legitimate number 2 wide receiver.
Yeah.
I felt people thought we had a legitimate 2 wide receiver last year with Adam Thielen, 10 touchdowns. He gets hurt. I think he plays 13 games. Well, Thielen right now is only about 80 yards off of what he was in the same exact time frame as last year. 13 games. He's got 645. Last year he had like 730 or 720 or something like that at this point in time. Although he had 10 touchdowns this year, he has 4. 91 targets, on pace with what he did last year. Receptions pretty close. He's got in 10.2 yard average. So he's got the same, almost the damn same stats, except for about 80 yards and 6 touchdowns. I'm not willing to close the book on him yet. I think it has a lot to do with the conservative nature of this offense and not having multiple options. I think TJ Hawkinson's is helping. We'll get to him. But he's actually shown a lot more the second half of the season. Do you feel like I think it's still important to go get a guy in the draft or even a free agent. I don't think to have him as a number 3 receiver. Wouldn't that be amazing? In fact, he might be right now with TJ Hawkinson, but but his contract is the only problem as far as keeping him as a number 3 receiver.
Yeah. Yeah, we could do an entire hour talking about Adam Thielen's contract and all seriousness. But no, with Thielen, this is the thing. I don't think he's a bad player. That's not what I'm saying. But he's nowhere close to a top 10 wide receiver to across football. Like, it's not close. He's not close. And again, he's slower, right? Like, that's age. It catches up to everybody. It finally caught up to Tom Brady this season. Like, I'm not even, like, mad that this is happening. He's not Larry Fitzgerald. God forbid. He can't, he's not the same player he was a couple years ago. But, no, I think with Thielen, the contract's another different thing. I do honestly think he finishes his career in Minnesota. I do. I just don't see how he doesn't. It won't be at that term next year, but I think he'll be back. This is the thing, though. If he puts his foot down and says, I want to be paid like this, then so be it. Then you got to go. But if not, I think they need to understand, 10.2 yards per catch looks great, but a lot of those have been deeper passes. He's got a lot of 25-yard passes because how much coverage Jefferson is taking away, right? If that was a young stud Chris Olave, I'm sorry, he'd be doing more. That's not to take a shot at him. It's just the truth. You know what I mean? Thielen is still a very solid player, but he's far from what he once was. And you can see it, right? It is what it is.
I find it also odd that PFF has him as not dropping a ball this entire season. I think it's still in effect.
It is, yeah.
And there was a point where he says, "I thought I've counted a few already," but they weren't considered drops apparently. But he hasn't dropped a lot of balls, so he's still pretty a possession receiver. Man, it's still completely solid. We've had worse third receivers in this league, right?
Yes. Oh yeah.
Although he has been my favorite player just because of the story behind it.
Yes.
You don't want to say, hey, they paid him for the years that they didn't pay him. You know what I'm saying? But yeah, the contract I feel like is the worst on the team. Anybody can say Cousins, anybody can say our running back, but right now this one is the worst on the team as far as production and how much it costs and replacement. What you could get for a replacement. I mean, literally, TJ Hawkinson has come on the team and he's on pace for almost on pace for 1,000 yards. I said this, people talk about Kirk Cousins loving the tight end. That's a complete misnomer because the only time he's had a tight end over 600 yards was the year we threw it all the time in 2018, where we didn't run it. We had one of the league's worst running teams, and Rudolph had 600 yards, but after that, he didn't break 400. And then he leaves.
Just the Vikings, though, right? Like in Washington, he loved Jordan Reed.
I'm talking about. Well, he loved Jordan Reed, right?
Well,
Jordan Reed is, and he said this about TJ Hawkinson, is that he is like a Jordan Reed type player.
Yes.
So go ahead.
No, I was just going to say, expecting bigger production for Kyle Rudolph. I mean, it was never his thing, right? He was never a constant. Does not take a shot at him. He was an elite red zone guy.
Oh yeah.
But he wasn't a Jason Wynn type where you expected huge numbers like Kelsey is now. He never was that guy. And Irv, I mean,
he might be coming back.
It is. He's a pretty big bust. You know what I mean? For what his production should have been. I mean, they spent the second round pick on him, So that's why the Cousins hasn't had a big yardage here with the tight end in Minnesota. That's just me.
Well, yeah, I mean, but they're getting at that he loves the tight end. He's loved the tight end, and they're talking about his Vikings years. And I'm like, well, he's not. Nobody's been over by 400 except for the year that we were forcing it. To pass on every play. But but my point with let me bring him up is, he might get that in half a season with us. 600 yards. He might get. We have 4 games left. He's got 300 yards. He's got 300 with Detroit. He's got 600 right now. He might get to 1,000 yards on the season, let alone to 600 with us. And this is just with us. But compare this 36 receptions, 48 targets to KJ Osborne all year.
That's what I've been saying, right? Like, that's why I said Thielen would have been the perfect wide receiver. I mean, there were people this offseason that were saying KJ could be a wide receiver 2 down the line. I never bought that narrative. He's proven that that's not the case. And talk about a great story. The guy was nearly cut, right? He had to earn it last year in the offseason.
Yeah, he was bad.
He had a horrible rookie year with punt returning. And then, his second year went as good as you could expect it to go. But, yeah, KJ is just a really solid player, but that's it. They need to go and get a receiver like we talked about, Dave. We agree. They need to get a receiver high in the draft this year. High.
I'm all for it, man. Even if they got like a sneaky good guy, like this Watson and I'm from up that area. Even Watson and the Packers have shown touchdown ability. Like he has like 7 in 3 games at stretch. I don't know what he did last week, but if let's say he pans out, but then there's Diggs. We got him in the 5th round. And there's been other players. Tyreek Hill drafted late. There's those possibilities. There's those chances. There's those bullets, right? And we didn't draft one, right? We didn't even.
Naylor.
Oh, Jalen Naylor, 6th round. I was actually pretty high on him, so I felt good about the Naylor pick because I feel like he has a potential. At least a 3rd receiver. I think he can get that type of we're going to get that type of talent on him because he is fast. He catches with his hands. He's got leaping ability and good ball skills. I just don't know, anything other than the highlights I've seen on him. And he had an Odell Beckham type catch on his repertoire on his highlight reels, and much like Ty Chandler did too. So he has ability. I'm high on him. I think we got a good we spent a good bullet there. I felt like he could go higher if it wasn't for the injury.
I'd agree.
He broke his hand his senior year, and he was on track to have a great freaking year. So, and I talked about TJ. So offensive wise, there's just some stats. We were 342, which is 16th in the league. I said 12th earlier. At one point, we were 12th. 24 points a game, 10th. At one point we were 8th and we dropped, and now we're back. We're getting back up again. It had to do with the Cowboys game. The Vikings defense, this is atrocious. We're 32nd league in yards. I think we're last in passing by at least 20, by a lot. By like 20 yards a game, 20, 30 yards a game. 24 points. We were up there, and I had you in my chat, man.
Yeah.
And you were pretty optimistic about this defense. And I know you said it was a lot to do with the players we had. And we started naming off Pro Bowlers while you were in the chat. But they are a little long, some are a little long in the tooth. How much blame do we need to give Ed Donatel on the fact that we're the last in blitz percentage and we can't get to the quarterback with 4? And I think that's what his defense is predicated on, because I've said on air, I know what he's trying to do, and it's reliant on getting to the quarterback and causing turnovers, and that's not happening. But today we got a team that's minus 14 right here. We're plus 6. They're minus 14. What a better matchup today.
Yeah, like I've said this before. First off, on the defense, when we were talking about Dave, I did say, you remember this all the way back. I said this is no more than the top 18 defense. I remember you and Rap, weren't too happy with me when I said that, but it's because I knew this defense is old. And the reason I was crediting Donatel is I thought he was getting the most out of them. Obviously, that aged like sour milk. But when it came to the thing of can the Steelers do it against the Colts? I mean, they have to, right? They have to, Dave. Like, if it doesn't happen now, it's not going to happen. Like, if they cannot do it today, if they give up 400 yards today, we're screwed. If they don't show adjustments today and they aren't pressuring Matt Ryan, which has the worst pass protection in the entire NFL in pass, in sets, they're the highest pressure rate on pass pro. Which is shocking because the Colts, I thought, had a good O-line. I guess they've been very injured. But we're done. Like, there's nothing to talk about here. If they can't get stops defensively, I don't care how good Kirk is in the postseason. You're screwed. They have to do better. And Z, I see you pulling up Z and
Yeah,
Daniil
these numbers have been the same except for maybe 1 or 2 tackles and one tackle for loss, maybe 1 QB hit. The same for like 3 weeks. That's how bad that our pass rush has dropped off. That these guys can't even get at the quarterback anymore. They've had 9.5 sacks and 7 for the last 3 games, I think.
No, I'm with you. Like, I've said this for a while, and at the time people were saying, "Well, give Z a break." I called it out weeks ago. He does not look the same as he looked in October.
You think it's the knee?
I think it is, but it's irrelevant because at the end of the day, they need the pressure. And Daniil Hunter, I've backed him all season. I still think he's a great, excuse me, edge defending run stopper. But his pass rush, it's been so Jekyll and Hyde this season. He has the big game in Miami. He had a couple other good games throughout the season, but it's so up and down. And, people were talking about Daniil Hunter needs to be extended. I think they might just need to let that contract run out. Forget the extension. They might need an edge high in the draft again. They're not high in the draft because they never take. Well, maybe we'll see with Kwesi if it's a different approach from what Spielman used to do, where they would never take an edge prior to the 3rd round. But they need to add more bodies to this team. And I'd like to see Patrick Jones play more. When he's been out there, I thought he's been really good. Give him more snaps.
And he is on the injury report. Did not practice on Thursday. Questionable. So if Daniil doesn't play and he doesn't play, I'm a little worried. And that's a little bit about Daniil. I think on at least 6, if not all of his sacks, have been with his hand on the ground. So when we did use him properly, I thought he did fine. And you're right, he is a hell of a run defender. Yeah. I think he was. People didn't expect that of him, and he's made some outstanding plays of getting somebody from behind or things like that. Like I seen him get beat and still make the play, and those are the kind of things I like about him. That he is an all-around defensive end, but yeah, he's more suited for a 4-3. But you can still use him as a 3-4. You don't have to have him out there on every down playing outside linebacker. You can bring him in as the guy that's going to be the pass rusher. Use him at defensive end and in the 3-4. Daniil Hunter can play a 3-4. Anybody as talented as him could play a 3-4 defensive end. Just make that switch for the rest of the season. Hell, we even Zimmer put him at defensive tackle in the 3-4, and it was outstanding what he did in the times he played that. Hey, get creative, Donatel. You're killing me here.
Yeah, that's where I agree, David. I'll say this. Donatel publicly came out and said they're going to play tighter coverage. I have no reason to not believe him. So we're good. For the love of God, they better not be playing 12 yards off every down. So if they stop doing that, and they're going to continue to rush forward, and by no means am I Donatel's biggest supporter, but what is he supposed to do if they can't get home with 4? Do they need to blitz that much more? Because if you do that, you're going to get caught. Now, should they blitz a touch more? Yeah, they probably should. But aside from that, they got to start getting home with 4.
Well, and then the argument there is you said, you're going to get popped, or I know Justin's brought it up about how, saving your bullets for when you need it. And we've been saving them for the 4th quarter every game. I want to get out of that 2-touchdown lead. I want to stop them in the 1st quarter, and my point there is that, you just brought tighter coverage. Now are we playing tighter coverage so our defensive line could get to the quarterback? It should be the other way around. Our defensive line getting the quarterback so they don't have to cover as long. It's my whole viewpoint on when he said that. I was like, that's completely backwards in my viewpoint. And it's fine rushing 4, but disguise it. Which 4 are coming? And I think it's what they call it. Disguising pressure. So he did it in games where he did it in the 4th quarter and made the stops we needed, and he did it then. And I'm like, you can disguise coverage more
Yes.
Bring 5. You don't need to bring 6 or just, bring 4. But I don't want to see in a situation where I saw Daniil Hunter playing middle linebacker.
That
Well,
needs to stop.
he ran from his outside linebacker position to play deep middle on a play that the pass went 30, like 25 yards up the field over his head and before the safety. That's how cushion they gave him on a 3rd and 15.
Yeah.
I'm like, yeah, Daniil should have been the guy rushing that play. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
That was my 2 cents on that. I talked about the sacks again. What another great example of a great opportunity here. They give up 46 sacks, and like you said, they give up a lot of the pressures. Their defense, 8th in yards, 18th in points, and I think this has a lot to do with their turnover situation. They probably turned the ball over, in their own side of the field, and Colts offense, not the greatest here. This is a weak offense.
If we give this offense 400 yards, I'm going to lose my mind. That better not happen. Because,
And look at Matt Ryan here. I mean, some people might say he was a borderline Hall of Famer, right? 13 TDs, 13 interceptions. This is probably his worst year of his, one of the, if not the worst, but one of the worst years of his career.
Yeah. This is the thing I'll say about Matt Ryan. And this is obviously not Vikings related, but just quickly on the Hall of Fame points that you mentioned it. He'll never be in the Hall of Fame because he will be known for that 28-7 game against the Patriots. It is what it is. That will screw him over because he had the career to do it. He blew a game he should never lose. Simple as that. That's what he's known for now.
He's got a Eli Manning stat line, but no Super Bowl to show for it.
Absolutely.
Because Eli, you look at his stats and you're like, he's okay.
Yeah.
Jonathan Taylor, I think missed a game this year, but these are equal stats to what we have. I mean, in fact, Dalvin Cook has 4.5 even yards per attempt, and Jonathan Taylor, who was the best running back in the league last year, 4.48. And there was a point in the season where Dalvin Cook had 5 yards per carry, and then it dipped to 4.8, and now it's gone. He's had 2 really bad games in a 3-week period, and now he's down to 4.5. Is his demise greatly exaggerated, or is he just a aging running back that could still pop off at any moment?
With Dalvin, I think he is slower. I mean, there's no debate. There's been at least 10 plus runs this season where he's been tackled at the very end where he was just about to break it. He's a step slower. He is. But is he still a pretty good running back?
I can say he looks like he goes down easier. He looks like he goes down easier than he has.
I agree. And unlike Thielen, Dalvin is in the Minnesota boy, so he's probably not going to care about taking a pay cut. This is probably his final year in Minnesota.
Yeah.
So it is what it is.
Well, I did talk to when I brought this up with SK, and I said Daniil Hunter did that 1-year deal, right? Where we and then he ended up extending with us. Yeah. But we gave him the leverage to negotiate a better deal.
Yeah.
And I'm thinking that I think he has something like $6 million cap hit if we cut him, and he's like $14 million if we keep him, right? So the fact that we could say, hey, we'll give you $10 million for a 1-year deal, would he take it? Because I don't think he doesn't get $14 million in free agency, right?
No.
He might get the 6, he might get 8, but 10 for 1 year guarantee, and you guarantee it for the year. Would he take it? Just to give us one more year with him while we figure out what the other situation is, because we might lose our other running back too. He's a free agent, and is Ty Chandler, who I think is our starter in 2024. Is Nwangu or Ty Chandler able to take over next year? It's all these questions on the running back position.
This is what I'll say, Dave. I think Dalvin and Alex will be gone next season. I don't expect either of them back, but this is the thing. You look around the league, especially San Francisco, prior to the McCaffrey trade. Elijah Mitchell, Jeff Wilson, Raheem Mostert. They were all statistically top 12 running backs. If you have a proper scheme with a running back, don't overthink this. And Kwesi, some people won't like this take, but I'm going to say it. If Kwesi pays Dalvin Cook $10 million, it's a horrible idea. You need to create cash. We don't have money. You need to go and spend a 5th or 6th round pick by trade, because he will trade down. We know he's going to do it. I've already accepted the fact that he likes to trade a little bit. They'll pick one up, or there's compensatory picks they have coming to them anyway. So 5th or 6th rounders, wherever those are, take a running back. Done. End of story. Running backs go late now. I mean, former Chicago Bears running back who was a absolute pain in our neck for years, Jordan Howard, he was a 5th round pick. We cannot overthink this. We need to go and get cheaper at that position so we can keep Kirk Cousins and JJ around, because those are the guys that are going to win us things.
I got a minute lightning round because you want to. We got 5 minutes before kickoff. Shane, I love this damn team, man. Dave, your guess is all doom and gloom. To give him credit, this is what we're talking about now, but he is optimistic about this game and thinks we can win out. So he's not, we're talking about specific contract situations and whether or not a player who is older is old. Yes. So he's not all doom and gloom, man. No. He has been optimistic in the previous talks. Here's a question. We'll end with, let me see what I'll give Shane another chance here. I only care about the dub, not yards against us. Yeah.
Agreed.
Yeah, and this is the guy to my left here that said the same thing to me so many times. So Shane, I give him some credit. He thinks exactly like you do. He was actually arguing with me in the chat about that specific thing, where he is all about the W and not whether or not you give up yards. So he's your supporter. But here, let's end with this. How come Reagor isn't used more, and is he not that good?
I'll say this. He needs to play more. I think that part of it was to do with him needing to learn the offense, and they generally were starting him slower. If you looked at his snaps, offensive snaps, they grew him along in the season, because last week was the most snaps he's had on offense. But we got to take the Band-Aid off now. Look, we've lost 2 of our last 4. We've talked about the inconsistencies with Thielen, but especially with KJ. My God, KJ's only been good against the Lions. That's it. That's his only good games all year. 2 of his 2 touchdowns. Leslie Cowan that I forgot about. He's got only 2 touchdowns against the Lions. That's the only relevant things he's done this year. Cyber short and intermediate. No, they need to get Reagor out there more. Enough is enough now.
I think I actually had that stat up earlier. But yeah, I don't think he's had too many touchdowns. My viewpoint on is that, hey, let KJ and Reagor alternate. Keep them fresh. Yes. When I coached basketball and I told the guy on the bench, I said, I need 2 minutes of hell out of you. I need you to go out there and play for 2 freaking minutes as hard as you can. And then he would go out there and just kind of take his, go through the motions, and I just take him out. And he goes, why are you taking me out, coach? Because you just basically walked on the court. And I said, give me 2 minutes of hell out there. Yeah. So that's the kind of thing, I like is like, hey, put these 2 guys out there, and you'll have people like, KJ Osborne is a really good blocker. I'm like, that's not what he's getting paid to do. He's paid to catch passes. We'll put him out on the blocking plays. And but yeah, I'm with you. I think both have the good things about them. I mean, there's some KJ Osborne's fought for a couple of really needed first downs, in this league, and he's caught some really good touchdowns, or 2 really important touchdowns for us. 1 last year, 2 against, I think it was Carolina. But yeah, I'd say swap them out, get Reagor, mix them in there, find out who's our true number 3. And, hey, speed kills, man, and I want to see it on the field. So, hey, that's it, guys. Tell them where they can find you.
No, you can find me, everyone, on Twitter at Mike Castellino. Also, since I'll be a good friend here, go subscribe to Justice channel at Purple. What is it? Purple. Oh, God.
Purple and Gold for Days. Purple and Gold for Days. Thank you. Yeah, he's always on my channel, so we shout him out all the time. Purple and Gold for Days, the Purple Code. We also do Purple Pocket Podcast and GG Sports are all partners. That's it for today, guys. Let's go beat those Colts. I think we got this game. My prediction was 31-20. What was your prediction?
Wow, I'm pretty much the same. I'm going to go 31-17.
All right. Let's go, guys. Let's go beat the Colts.
Skull.
Skull Vikings.